Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Loreweek. I'm your host. Nah, that's not true. I got up at a decent time today. Not enough time to avoid being shocked by Kira White noise, but yeah, we're trying, we're working on it. I don't even have that up right now. Hang on. Give me a moment to jot that down. For Battlestar. Thank you very much, Kira White Noise. Much appreciate, as always. Thank you. Yeah, my voice feels weird. I've been doing Cinna's lines all morning. Stabilizers configured. What's up, everyone? Kira, Dream Whisperer, Andre, Bartman Dilemma, Rax, Raskor, SJ, Hazardous, Baron, Platy, Von Falkenstein, Torchinator, Aethel, If and But. What's up, ladies and gentlemen? You know, I know that it looks like we only have 4 news topics, but I actually have a lot of things to run through, but it's all little stuff. Let's start with the show news. So, the show is being renamed the Shadow and Rax Comedy Club Hour. Rax, take it away. Hi, Avengers. We're almost assuredly not doing Sword and Shield today, no. And we are definitely not doing it a week from today, assuming we haven't beat the game by then. So show news first, right? I am going to go ahead and do Loreweek a week from today. And it's going to be a brief Loreweek, because then I have to do the 2 Streaminations, which are also going to be brief. And pretty much the moment I finish the Streaminations, I'm going to have to chop off, because I'm going to have to go pick up my mother from the airport. So, FYI. I will also not be streaming next Monday, next Tuesday, or next Wednesday at all. That's on the website, actually, as part of the scheduled events thing. So, FYI. Other show news. Some of you may have noticed we're doing the archiving a little bit differently. I've actually already talked about this a few times, but for those of you who haven't heard yet. So, the way I used to approach the archives channel is I used to approach it like it was a regular channel, right? You know, there's certain rules and certain things you need to do in order to go ahead and make a channel work. And then I was like, you know what? That doesn't frickin' matter for me, because this is just an archive channel and a VOD channel. So what's happening instead is the moment that video or any given game is, you know, done and fully uploaded and ready to be updated on the review page, I just go ahead and upload the whole thing, or that is to say, make everything go live, to be more accurate, because I upload everything well in advance. But to make everything go live, you know, in one giant bundle, if you're wondering why that is. We also have a new Zalok, so welcome, Zalok. We have a brand new page, which I finished this last week. I'm sure some of you, in fact, I would even argue, most of you have probably seen it. But if you haven't seen it, if you look down below and you look at the review archive page, you will notice that there is a link to it down below the Twitch thing. If you happen to type in !review in chat, you will also get a link to it. And that is something that has been a desire of mine to do for some time, and I'm glad to finally get that thing out there. It was a hellacious pain to set up, but now that it's set up, keeping it up to date is actually going to be relatively easy, so that's nice. Thank you very, very much, Zalok. Much obliged and appreciate the sub as always, sir. Thank you. And I'll put that towards Torna, which will be cold in about 2 weeks. No, hopefully not. So, that's the new review page. I'm not going to be streaming for about half of next week. I'm also not going to be streaming Pokemon later today because with the week left to go, it's the only time I have to get groceries and do laundry. I need to do that. Theater. Lorewalker Theater stuff. So for those of you who haven't caught the news yet, I am fully, completely caught up on the Lorewalker Theater. Can I just get a quick flex there? Because that was a huge amount of work. And by God, I slugged through the whole thing. Now, that's what I like to think of as the bulk of the work. That is the raw recording, the raw editing, and then the director's notes, which is for every line of dialogue in Final Fantasy IX now has a director's note attached to it. We have a whole new system of keeping track of it, too, which is awesome. And we are, of course, still looking for people who are interested in voicing random NPCs, if anybody is interested in doing random NPCs. I know that sounds like a minor thing, but trust me, we got a lot of NPCs to fill. Like a whole lot. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 female roles left. $27 male roles, and $22 gender doesn't matter roles. So we need as many people as we can get, even if you're only going to do a couple lines of dialogue. All it requires is that you have a semi-decent mic and access to our Discord. That's the only requirements there. I myself have been sliding through my own lines. I'm almost done with Cinna's lines, and I've already finished most of my other minor lines. I still need to do the finale stuff in Chapter 13, and then, I need to work on Justin. I need to work on Justin, because by God, he needs the work. Anyways, but this is also, just to say it once again in a nice public fashion, a bit of a call-out to anybody out there who is already committed to doing lines. I still need Zidane for Rax. I still need Garnet for Galtori. I still need Steiner for Sildir. I still need the Count, if you're still out there, unless, you've just vanished off the face of the earth. Bragwin, I need lines from. Zed Slayer, I need lines from. Fox B, if you ever watch these still, it would be awesome to have you back. I need lines from Shadow Machine. I need lines from Takoida. I need lines from Mandarton, who I haven't seen in a while. I need lines from Shuryu. I need lines from Random, who I also haven't seen. I've actually reassigned some of Random's roles, because Random kind of fell off the face of the earth. Random, if you're still there, get a hold of me, because you voice Kuja. And the alternative is I will voice Kuja. And nobody wants me to voice Kuja. Questy, I need some lines from. Dream Whisperer has been going through his lines. He's been good. Ryo Kami, I talked to her yesterday. Darth Tyrant, I know he's having real-life issues, but I need him for Sid. And actually, I think that's mostly it. I still need some lines from Huanta. I needed some lines from Cord. I need some lines from Tiffy. She's going to be doing re-records because of the microphone situation. I need lines from Savacom. I need lines from Hat, although he said he's going to be working today, so he's on it. I need lines from Killing You. I haven't heard from him in a little bit. I need lines from Nascosta. I need lines from Ice Tray. I need lines from Garyoshi. I need lines from Blue Wind, Berenian, Bio. And I think that's actually it, as far as people who we currently have lined up. But yeah, I am really excited because I can actually see the finish line for the first time for the FF9 Theater. And I've learned a lot, if I could be so bold, working through the FF9 Theater. I've learned a lot about keeping it organized. I've learned a lot about editing processes and spreadsheeting and file citing and just all sorts of stuff like that. Tons and tons of stuff. So I am actually feeling good going forward. Yes, I do, Chocolate Rob. FF9. So, for those of you not aware, the reason we picked FF9 as our second theater project was because so many people expressed an interest in it. Of the 5 games we had on the docket, everyone was like, oh man, Final Fantasy IX would be great. And at the time I was thinking, man, I need to get as many people involved as possible. So I picked the thing that was super popular. That was a mistake in hindsight. I mean, it has been a very good learning experience, and I do think we're going to have a good product in the end. Although, the varying quality of everyone's mics is definitely going to show, and that's something you're just going to have to live with, because I don't have the ability to get everyone up into a studio, you know what I mean? But I am rather pleased with most of what we have. Funnily enough, the next couple of projects that I hope to do after FF9 are all going to be smaller than FF9. So, anyways, so that's the theater news. Just wanted to plug that and make sure everyone's aware of that. Speaking of which, thank you very much for the sub, Justin. Much obliged and appreciate, sir. Thank you. And you want to... Okay, you want to put it towards Jedi Fallen Order. I was just about to ask. You got there right there. Well, some of the other games, Chocolate Rob, that I've been thinking about doing, and I was thinking about doing, are Final Fantasy IV, Final Fantasy V, Final Fantasy VI, Final Fantasy VIII, of all games. And although 8 might not be better, it'd probably be a little bit better, but there's still a lot of NPCs in 8. Undertale, Chrono Trigger. And I think that's the full list at the moment. Those are all the ones that I've already looked into. There's probably other games that I haven't thought of yet. But all of those are ones that are definite, maybes. Now to talk about how Pokemon is the best thing ever. No, I'm kidding. If we ever actually do Chrono Trigger, we're going to have to spend a very long, careful amount of time figuring out who to voice Chrono. Anyways. So. Random news. Let's go ahead and switch forward here. I do me a favor and watch the beginning of the VOD so I don't have to repeat myself, Micromono. I answered that right at the beginning. Yeah, a bunch of games are actually having their 15th anniversary this month, including WoW, of all things. Let's see, what was the full list? Actually, I was looking at this earlier because I was combing for gaming news. Let's see here. What do we got? Games that came out 15 years ago this month. Metroid Prime 2, Half-Life 2, World of Warcraft, Metal Gear Solid 3, Halo 2... Roller Coaster Tycoon. Roller Coaster Tycoon 3, Counter-Strike Source, Minish Cap, Bejeweled 2, EverQuest 2, Jack 3, Metroid Prime 2, Need for Speed Underground 2, the greatest of all games. Mario 64 DS, that's a big one. I guess that's it. Okay, so. Random news. So I'm just gonna start linking. Well, no, screw it. You guys. If anybody wants a link, just say something. I have links for all these. I'll put them in the VOD. Shovel Knight is getting a whole bunch of stuff finally. I mean, I hate to sound entitled, but it has been a long wait on many Shovel Knight things. However, we finally have a release date for many Shovel Knight things. That's going to be coming out December 10th. About 3 weeks from now, or 4 weeks. 3 weeks. No, I'm right. 3 weeks. 3 weeks from now. So that's when the new treasure trove is going to be coming out. The physical, copy of the treasure trove is going to be coming out. That's when King of Cards is going to be coming out. And the Showdown multiplayer game is going to be coming out. And I'm going to accidentally get a fingerprint on my glasses. That is also when the amiibos that I ordered, like, back in June are coming out. Hi, Gary. So that's awesome. I am looking forward to the new Shovel Knight. We need to add that to the list and then get lots of people to show it. Could everyone just put your money towards Shovel Knight, please, so I can play that when it comes out? This is a personal request from me. Now, let's see. Next bit of news. What else we got here? That's the wrong thing. So, SCP. For those of you not aware, there's this thing going on for the SCP, which is... I don't know what to say about that, honestly. There's a whole link. I'm going to go and link this one. There's a whole document speaking about just exactly how awful this whole situation is. For those of you not aware of the SCP, don't worry about it. Yes, that is the one, Tesla, the Secure, Contain, Protect project. What does it say? So there's this guy who's a scumsucker, and he's being scumsucky. That's the summary. Someone has basically tried to take copyright ownership within certain countries, notably Russia and Eastern Europe countries, in order to try and contain and control rights to the SCP, which, if that doesn't mean anything to you, again, don't worry about it. But for those of you who know what the SCP is, you can understand why that's just kind of a what sort of a thing. So, yeah, it's a developing situation, and it's a mess, and this is mostly a signal boosting thing. Yeah. Is it even possible? In certain countries, yes, apparently. Like, this is why I linked the thing, because you don't want me to go through and talk about how It is in strict compliance of Creative Commons Attribution Sharealike 3.0 Unported, hereafter referred to as CC BY SA 3.0, which allows you to use your license to people with... There's a lot of legalese going through this. So, hey, so I'm going to try really hard here. Ameliara? How am I doing? Anyways, next bit of random news is that Ameliara has just subbed. Thank you very, very much. Much obliged and appreciate the sub as always, sir and or madam. If you happen to know where you'd like to put that, I don't know if you know this, so you could put those towards a future stream or showing interest in funding or whatever. Or you could just put it in the Lore Chooses thing, which is going to be going to Shovel Knight, by the way. So, let me know. Yeah, and you get to be stabbed because you didn't put it towards anything. We have a little bit of a preview. Let's go on to let's move on to positive news. So we've got a little bit of a preview of what the PS5 controller is going to look like. And it looks awful and the worst thing ever because I hate all things Sony. Or at least that's what some people say. No, it looks all right, I guess. Like, it looks like they were trying to get more of a screen on the PS5 controller. Shrug is really all I have to say about that. I was really kind of hopeful that we'd get, you know, this with the PS5, but nope. Instead, we're getting money put towards Yakuza Kiwami. So yeah, we'll see, basically. But as usual, and this isn't really a negative thing, but the PlayStation 5 looks like it's not actually innovating anything. It's just new hardware, so cool. Whatever. Moving on. More of the same. Kappa is still nightmarish. Now, oh, right. So some of you may have noticed that last week's Loreweek video got deleted. I was actually going to explain it at the beginning, and then I got distracted because the theater is awesome. Swerby is awesome. Thank you very, very much, Swerby. Much appreciate the sub. And as I just said, if you want to put that towards showing interest in a future stream, you can do so. I can jot it down. It'll be awesome. Either way, thank you very much for the sub. So this is going to sound like an apology, but it actually isn't. This is one of those weird situations. However, I believe very firmly in the Streisand effect. So rather than trying to hide it, I'm just going to go ahead and openly admit that last week I said that people who had bought into the Fallout First thing for Fallout 76, that I didn't have a lot of sympathy for them, and that and I said screw those people. And I stand by that, because that is legitimately how I feel. However, what I did not do was actually do that in a professional manner, and I also did not talk about the full nuances of the situation and the specifics of exactly what was going into that. So, I gave a personal opinion on a professional topic, which is a no-no, which is why I deleted the VODs. And I wanted to go ahead and mention why that was done, and go ahead and openly admit what I said, which I do not walk back, by the way. I'm not going to walk that back, because that would be a lie, and I'm not in the habit of lying on my show unless it's for a joke. Psychonauts 2, you got it. Thank you again for the sub. Now, I do want to add one other thing. Harassment's not cool. Like, just in general. In no way do I want to encourage people to harass other people. That's bullcrap. And if I could also add one other thing, and I mentioned this on Discord when we were discussing this, I also think Bethesda takes a decently large chunk of the blame here. And I'm going to explain why really quick, okay? Let's imagine for a moment that... Rax gave me an FF14 example, but I can't think of an equivalent. Wait, I've got one. Okay, let's say in World of Warcraft, let's say I am playing on an open PvP server, okay? And as I'm playing on an open PvP server, you remember that stupid frickin' horse? It was the first purchasable mount in the game, and it looked awful, and everyone bought it. You know the one I'm talking about, right? That stupid frickin' horse. I don't remember what it's called. It's like the glittery, you know, stupid horse. I don't know what the name of it is. And no, I don't have it. I never actually bought it. Anyway, so imagine for a moment that you're on an open PvP server, and people can see that you have that horse because you're on it. You've mounted the horse. And people decide to start ganging up on you and beating you up and camping you. And corpse camping, very similar word, corpse camping you as a form of harassment, okay? Now, that's not cool. Here's the thing. I don't know if you're aware of this, but there are tools now, and I do have to add that word. There are tools now in World of Warcraft to allow you to prevent that from happening. So if someone kills you in open PvP, it's whatever, right? I mean, it's open PvP. That's how that works. But if someone consistently and repeatedly, corpse camps you, that is actually considered under the terms of service a form of, legally defined harassment. That means you can report that to someone, and there's a tool in the game for doing that. And there are GMs who will respond to those things. And there's ways to... Basically, the game actually puts tools into the player's hands to help deal with those kind of harassment issues. There's nothing to stop the initial harassment. However, there is the possibility of trying to prevent it from happening, either going forward or to cut it off before, the other person gets bored and moves on, right? Now that's important, because that means the game in question actually has a toolkit in mind there to allow you to go and deal with that kind of harassment. What does Fallout 76 have? This is why I say that Bethesda gets a chunk of the blame here, by the way. Because they have not done jack to put tools into the hands of players to help deal with this kind of crap. In fact, and this is an almost horrific source of irony, one of the tools that should be in the hand of Fallout Firsters in order to go ahead and deal with this problem doesn't work. The private servers. Anyways, I did want to be nice and open about that, talk about why that was happening, and talk about the topic in a little bit more depth than I did last week. Because what happened last week was I got off on a completely separate tangent, which is my fault, talking about the nature of how some people will hide behind defenses, blah, 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 blah. And that's not directly related to the Fallout Firsters topic, and that's why I wanted to. Anyways, so, where's my actual news thing here? From Modern News. Right, so speaking of things that I talked about last night, I talked about COPPA and the nature of paper-clipping legality stuff. I have no idea at this point, MLER. I really don't. I can't predict what... I have put forth the legitimate, non-trolly, non-memeing, non-joking, non-exaggerative theory that Bethesda is pulling a producer's thing with Fallout 76, because at this point it really has stopped making sense. As Rax pointed out in chat just a bit ago, the banning players for reporting bugs thing has actually escalated this week. Anyways, last week I also talked about COPPA, which is the Children something something privacy something something. It's an act that I was actually in favor of back in '96 when it was first passed. It is now being used to harass YouTubers. Now, I'm going to play an audio clip. As always, I like to preface this. What is it? You don't know what the producers is. Okay, really quick summary. The producers, it's a parody. It's a movie, theater, play thing. But the producer's concept is when you deliberately try to fail in order to make money. It's actually a semi-common thing in real-life economics. Deliberately failing in order to get a short-term financial gain. That kind of a thing. So... Springtime for Hitler and Germany. That's producers. All right. So I'm going to play an audio clip here for you. This is some dude, I don't know his name and I don't care, from the FTC. Now this is, preface, asterisk, this is an edited clip. And as always, you have to consider context when editing. However, I think the initial part I'm about to play speaks for itself regardless of editing. So I'm going to go quiet to make sure you can hear it.
The analogy that I think of is the expression about shooting fish in a barrel. YouTube is the barrel, and the content creators are the fish. There will be consequences for content creators. We have a variety of tools at our disposal to cull through those 23 million channels in an expeditious way. So when we talk about aggressiveness, we are typically talking about civil penalties. Not only can we sue Google and YouTube for compliance with COPPA, but also individual channel owners and content creators.
I think that speaks for itself. I've decided that the FTC should die. Anyone in favor? So, you guys have, anybody who's been watching my streams for the last week knows that this is something that I've been kind of bringing up off and on because it's just such a recurring thing. I want to talk about this during Loreweek because more people see Loreweek than my random daily streams about Star Trek Legacy. YouTube is, and has been for years. Now, I talked about this last week, but again, that VOD got deleted. I've seen this coming a long way off. I've talked about this before. I have a really bad habit of successfully predicting long-term economic trends, and this is one where, unfortunately, I have been right about it. The reason I initially switched to Patreon, the reason I have pulled all monetization off of my VODs, the reason I don't actually put up gameplay footage behind my ruminations. All sorts of little things have all been done because I have seen the YouTube bubble bursting coming from a long time off. And we're getting to the point where we might actually be at the point where I literally cannot actually have YouTube at all. It depends on what happens going forward. Now, I don't mind to sound doom and gloom. What I mean to sound is prepared. So I want to let you guys know that I do have several backup plans in mind. But right now, the main backup plan, the plan B, is if they continue to go this route, ruminations are obviously going to be completely nuked off of YouTube. There will be no rumination videos, period. However, I still have all the local copies, obviously. And I will have the ability to host MP3 versions of my videos. So the audio versions of the ruminations will still be going live pretty much no matter what. There's nothing to get in the way of that. And I will keep streaming, like you're watching right now. So that's the backup plan. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and chop this off. I know every time I bring this up, 700,000 people, slight exaggeration, suggest all sorts of other different video sites. Let me just go ahead and be very clear. Trust me, I've looked into them. I continue to look into them. This is literally my livelihood. I check this stuff on a weekly basis. As of this exact moment in time, there is no other feasible alternative to YouTube other than Pornhub. And I know everyone jokes about that, but it's actually true. So, no, we'll be going with the MP3 thing. All right, so that's the backup plan of Plan B. Now, Baron says not even my own site. Okay, Baron, I don't know how to properly explain to you, since obviously you don't understand. I don't mean that as an insult. I don't know how to properly explain what is involved in hosting videos on your own site. No, basically, it's not happening. There's no way in hell. There are so many things in the way of that being a thing. There's everything in the way of that being a thing. It would be very expensive, and it wouldn't work 100% of the time for 100% of people. Not a lot of people really consider how much work goes into YouTube properly processing and outputting video outputs to multiple different platforms. I know that sounds like a strange statement, but you can watch YouTube on your phone, on Chrome, on Internet Explorer, on Firefox, on Safari. And all of those work just a little bit differently. And that's something that has to be accounted for. Like, I know that sounds like a strange thing, but it's because YouTube does all of that for you. You know? Yes, you're out of a job, Low Reloaded. Sorry. Don't you have, like, a real job? Don't you have a 9-to-5? I actually don't know that. I shouldn't presume that. Anyways. Speaking of show news, actually, while you're here, Low Reloaded, maybe you can explain to my viewers exactly how they can watch things tomorrow. Because I've been getting that question roughly 700,000 times a day, slight exaggeration. I have gotten that question a lot, and I don't actually know the answer. I know it's going to be recorded. I know the recording is going to go up on your YouTube, but I don't know anything else. Is it going to be a live stream? Is there going to be live streaming on YouTube? Is it going to be live stream on Twitch? Is it going to involve, you have to give you $700,000? I don't know what's up with that number today. Okay, apparently he's going to stream it on YouTube. There you go. So there's the answer. Lore Reloaded. So those VODs will be happening every Monday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Lore Reloaded's YouTube channel. Until YouTube decides to self-destruct, at which point I will have to conquer the world. Please don't make me conquer the world, YouTube. I've got enough of a job as it is. Next news point. Oh yeah, by the way, that will actually not be happening next Monday because I'll be with my mother and, Thanksgiving. Alright, so I talked about the COPPA, which is still awful. Disney Plus went live. Woo, there's a lot of concerns. It had a very unpleasant launch because they apparently were not ready for the kind of figures they were going to be hitting. At least it seemed to launch feature complete. I want you to remember that for something I'm going to mention in the future. But Mandalorian has started going live. I believe 2 episodes have gone live now. Obviously, I have not seen them. I have not had time. I've been working. But, woo, it does seem feature complete. It does seem neat. The biggest concern right now is the fact that apparently they still have licensing expiries, which is very strange, because that shouldn't work that way. We'll see what happens with that going forward. I actually did a little bit of digging into it, but I couldn't find any specifics or hard data, so all I can say is, on that one at the moment. So we'll see where that goes. There shouldn't be any expiries on Disney Plus. So, yeah. Any opinions on Fallen Order? It's a video game. I don't even own it yet. Alright, so let's see here. Since I just mentioned that, let's go ahead and segue into Google Stadia. Anyone want to do that? So speaking of launching feature complete, Google Stadia is garbage. Which is funny because I'm actually happy about that. Because I don't want Stadia to succeed because I hate the very concept of it. I actually legitimately am antagonistic towards the very idea of what Google Stadia is and represents. Things it does not launch with, has not launched with, is not launching with? I don't know, it's going live pretty soon. Oh, it's November 19th, so it's actually going live this Tuesday, my bad. Anyways, things it's not launching with. Stream Connect, the feature that allows you to connect other people. State Share, which is self-explanatory. Crowd Play, multiplayer. So that's not launching. That's coming out next year. The achievement system, which isn't going in. The ability to use Chromecast Ultra to play games, which isn't going in. Family sharing. But don't worry, they have a solution. Just buy another copy of the game for your kids. That's them, not me. Buddy Passes will not be going live, so, I mean, whatever. The Stadia controller will not be launching for some people. Hang on. Now, I'm going to go ahead and link this. This is a huge document. Feel free to peruse it at your leisure. But this is the AMA about Google Stadia. It's hilarious. I honestly recommend you take some time and just peruse this. Their responses, oh my god. There's so much that's going to be broken or not working, and their answers to it have basically been shrug. This is awful. But hang on, it gets better. But wait, there's more. Here's the initial games that are coming out with it, okay? Assassin's Creed Odyssey, Destiny 2, Guilt, I don't even know what that is, Just Dance 2020, Kind, don't know what that is, Mortal Kombat 11, Red Dead Redemption 2, Rise of the Tomb Raider, Samurai Showdown, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, Thumper, and Tomb Raider. What the hell is that list? Like, there's a couple of decent games on there, but that is a very strange launch list. That's also it. Now, they do have some games lined up for the future. Attack on Titan 2, Borderlands 3, Final Fantasy 15, Metro Exodus, Rage 2, Wolfenstein Youngblood, Trials Rising, NBA 2K20, excuse me. Football Manager 2020, Farming Simulator 19, Ghost Recon Breakpoint, Grid, Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2, The Crew 2, Destroy All Humans, Doom, that's Doom 4, Elder Scrolls Online, Power Rangers, Battle for the Grid, Super Hot, Windjammers 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Cyberpunk 2077, which is probably their one big draw, Doom Eternal, Get Packed, and Orcs Must Die 3. 26 games. That's not a good list. And almost all older games, by the way. Almost every single game on that list is a game that has been out for about a year-ish. Or will be out for a year-ish by the time it actually goes live. Oh yeah, by the way, you have to buy all these games brand new, basically. Like, you have to buy a Stadia copy of this. How many of these games are on other consoles? All of them except for Get Packed and Orcs Must Die 3. So, at least that's according to this list. Moving on. I don't even know what else to add to that. This is why this isn't a full topic, because Stadia just looks like this looks like one of two things. Either a producer's moment where they're trying to deliberately fail, or here's your release date. Make it come out at this point in time. Well, but we don't have any of the features ready, and the hardware isn't ready, and the tech isn't ready, and nothing is ready. Here's your release date. But we don't even have games for it. Here's your release date. It might be that. I was also trying to find a reliable source to quote for the guy who was like, oh, don't worry, ISPs will increase the bandwidth for people to accommodate video game streaming. That'll happen. I hang on, let me find a direct quote. I don't want to misquote. Hang on. Give me a moment. Where is it?
In with the U.S.
Mute. There we go. Yes, this is from a Jim Sterling video. But he pulled the quote out, which is where I'm gonna mention it here. There it is. There's the quote right there. Boop. ISPs are smart, and they understand they're in the business of keeping customers happy and keeping customers with them for a long time. ISPs are smart, and they'll definitely raise the data caps for streaming. I don't know how many of you guys are even aware of this, because I've only complained about it 700,000 times. I don't know what's up with me in that number today. But ISPs have monopolies in huge chunks of the U.S. It's like 70% of the U.S. is you have one choice for an ISP. And in some cases, you have two choices for an ISP. And it's dependent on the individual state, but in certain states, including the one I live in, it is legal to charge you for to give you a data cap. So, for example, it's basically the same kind of thing you're probably aware of with your phone, except it's for your entire internet. Now, you can pay for an unlimited thing. That's about $230 a month. I can tell you that from experience because that's what I had to pay. If you have a business license to back that up, they don't sell that to everyone. Or you can spend extra for every additional gigabyte you go over your limit. By the way, it adds up pretty quickly. Moving on. So, Google Stadia. Moving on. Let's see here. So, I know, like, I'm the only person in the world who cares about this, but the Mega Man Z collection was actually delayed. And the specific stated reason was they wanted to polish it and put more effort into making sure it works as good as possible, which, hey, I'm with. But that makes, I think, like, the 5th game that's been delayed, like, in the last month. So, it's a thing. I don't know what's up with this. Who's Mega Man? Well, He's really good at rock music. I'm sorry, I'm not going to make the dumb joke. Ah, yeah. Well, it's okay. Right now, I pay $50 a month for, what is it? I pay for 100 up and 100 down. It's fiber, so it's just 100, really. Hang on, Tesla, hang on. No, I do not, Imperial Star Destroyer. Now, in all sincerity, this is kind of a good thing. First of all, let me just say that Capcom has been nailing it the last few years. Like, seriously. Capcom really has been just pushing out the quality. I was recently watching the speedrun at SGDU 2019 of Resident Evil 2 Remake, and I was reminded of how damned good that game was. I loved playing that game when we did the premiere run of it. And, of course, that's just one of several. Devil May Cry 5 came out this year. And they've also been releasing a large number of well-done collections on the Switch and everything. But the Switch is the part I care about. But yes, Capcom has been on an absolute roll. So they have, like, oh no, it's been delayed a bit so it could be better. Yeah, no, I'm happy about this. Hopefully the Mega Man Z collection will be as good as the rest of the stuff. For those of you who care about Morrowind... Anybody? I'm actually kind of curious. Does anybody care about Morrowind? I am legitimately curious. Yes, I just noticed Morrowind music is playing right now. Okay, several people. So the Morrowind Rebirth mod, which I'm actually going to link this one here. Boop. The Morrowind Rebirth mod had just had a very, very recent release. It actually came out yesterday. Just had a new update, which apparently is a very big one from what I understand. This is 5.0, and this is a huge update, and it looks kind of awesome. So for anybody who has any interest in Morrowind or playing Morrowind Rebirth, I just thought I'd link that because I don't even have much to say. It's a big polishing pass of awesome, and the list of stuff they've both added and changed and updated the textures on and updated animations on is absolutely gargantuan. It is a huge, 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 huge list of stuff. Next thing to talk about, we're still in random news. Hey, here's my notes about Google Stadia. I'm not talking about that separate, am I? Nope. Okay, Path of Exile 2 was announced. No, this is not Skywind. I have no idea what's happening with Skywind. I don't know what to say about Path of Exile 2, honestly. Like, okay, so let's go ahead and just allow people to hate me. I don't like Path of Exile 1. It's just not my thing. I tried it several times in my life, and both times I was like... Two isn't several. I've played it twice in my life. Both times with friends, actually. And both times it was just kind of like... Like, it wasn't a bad game by any marks. It just didn't catch me, you know? And my friends who I was playing with also didn't like it, so we just kind of bowed out. Nevertheless, Path of Exile 2... No, wait! Reloaded! No! Okay, it's okay. I accept my death. Anyways, so Path of Exile 2 has been announced. They've got a trailer and everything. It's coming out late next year, possibly 2021. They're adding a new campaign. You can select it from the thing. 20 years have passed. The story's moving forward. 19 new classes. Whole new skill gem system. All new equipment. I don't actually know what that means. Wait, I'm sorry. Hang on, I need to read this part out loud. I'm sorry. The entire progression of armor and weapons has been redone from start to finish, alongside entirely new character models and animations. All your old microtransactions are still compatible. PoE has microtransactions? Anyways. Moving on. Yeah, don't even have a release date. Not even going to start beta until late 2020. So yeah, that's coming out forever from now. But woo, there's also a mobile thing. Path of Exile mobile. Okay, that's all I got on that one. Moving on. One thing I did want to comment on briefly is the fact that it looks like they're having, it's Path of Exile 2. It's an expansion. Like, by all accounts, it's an expansion. Which would be the second game announced this year that's an expansion that's billing itself as such and such too. Anyways, so, moving on. There's my notes. Microsoft stuff. Okay, so for those who are not aware, the convention announcement thing was this week. I don't even know the name of it, and I so don't know the name of it that I was having trouble finding information on it earlier. So I just had to look for news. What's the name of this? What is this thing? What's this called? Exo 19, apparently. Exo 19 was the name of the event. A couple things were announced. Project Scarlet is going head-to-head with PS5. The Final Fantasy series is coming out on Xbox Game Pass. Now, okay, real quick thing. I obviously don't like those kind of rental system things, like the Game Pass things. However, I'm actually fully in favor of them existing as an option. And from everything I've heard, the Xbox Game Pass is actually a pretty good Game Pass as far as Game Passes go. Like I was making fun earlier of Stadia. The Xbox Game Pass just completely blows it out of the water. So, woo. Actually, there's a whole bunch of games that were announced, and it's such a big list, I'm not going to go down the list. But yeah, it's all the FFs are coming out. Kingdom Hearts is coming out, that was mentioned as well. Tekken 7, Witcher 3, Yakuza 0, Yakuza Kiwami 1 and 2. Yeah, this is actually kind of hard to read. Bunch of stuff. Let's just summarize it. Bunch of stuff. Halo Reach is coming to PC December 3rd. Woo! Xbone consoles are being reduced in price, as well as Xbone controllers. That's for Black Friday specifically. Blah, 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 blah. They're having their own cloud thing. Please stop doing that. The cloud thing is going to include 50 games, which also blows Stadia out of the water. It's either Tekken or Tekken. I've heard both. Torchinator. I vary between which one I say. This is a gargantuan list. I'm not going to read the whole list. Life is Strange. So, okay, moving on. Life is Strange developers. You remember those guys? They're making a new game called Tell Me Why, which looks like another new episodic kind of Telltale-y sort of a game. So, woo, that's coming out. Rare is making a new game. You remember Rare, right? We just played one of their games last Friday. They are making a new game called Everwild. Now, this is actually kind of funny to me because this is not the first time Microsoft has announced a game, and we have no idea what it is. Like, literally, they haven't said anything about the game at all. There's wild animals. It's got a kind of a cartoony look. The exact quote here, I'm just going to read this here. While Everwild is still early in development, we're very excited about the unique potential of the game we are creating. The team is focused on building an experience that allows for new ways to play a natural and magical world. Everwild will give you memorable, engaging, meaningful experiences for players to share. We cannot wait to share more with you in the future. That's all we know about it. Moving on. This last, but you're probably wondering why this is a topic. This last one is the only one that I consider to be an actual topic worthy of discussion in and of itself. So Obsidian is making a survival game. It's called Grounded. Set in a suburban backyard where four group of friends have to fend for themselves after being shrunk down to an ant. Because, right? You've watched it, right? Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, anybody? No, it's just me. Like one of the last Rick Moranis games. Or movies, excuse me. Damn it, Zizojo. You know what? That's going straight to Shovel Knight. You got it. I'm not even going to write that down separately. That is going straight to Shovel Knight. And thank you for the bits. Yeah. So, this is why I feel this is a topic. I've noticed a lot of people in chat are having similar reactions to my reaction, which is Obsidian is making a survival game. Like, I could keep going, right? They're talking about how it's going to be very elaborate. They're actually doing a lot to work on the insect AI because they want insects to behave in a certain way. There's going to be a pheromone system. There's going to be a day-night cycle. The ecosystem is going to change. Giant spiders are going to be in it. By the way, not playing this game. It's coming out early next year, actually, so it's pretty far along in development. And yeah, Okay, so now I want to make it clear that I'm not negative about this. I'm just confused. Because it would be like it would be like going to the developers of a single player RPG and saying, "You should make an MMO." Or how about going to the developers of a horror sci-fi thing and saying, "You should make an action FPS." Like, I'm actually confused by this one. Now, here's the thing, though. If I might be so bold, there's nothing that really says a certain type of developer needs to be pigeonholed, right? I mean, obviously, if we think of BioWare, we think of, back in the early aughts, when we thought of BioWare, we thought of, good single-player RPGs and blah, blah, blah. When we thought of, Capcom, you think of good, side-scrolling adventure games or Resident Evil or whatever. When you think of Square, you think of JRPGs, right? There's nothing that necessarily says that you have to be pigeonholed when it comes to development, and there have been exceptions for certain characters. Yeah, From Software is another good example. There have been exceptions where a development team has been able to push out something pretty decent, like, yeah, okay. So on the paper side of things, on just writing it down here, it's like, okay, I'm kind of with it. Like, okay, let me be real for a second. Obviously, this will never happen because I'm already 37 and my life is over. But someday, I still have like a dozen or so video game ideas in my head that I would love to make. I don't think a single one of them is the same genre as another, like same type of game. I would love to make tons of different types of games, and they wouldn't all be RPGs. You know what I mean? On the face of it, the idea of a developer wanting to go ahead and say, hey, I'd really love to, make a different type of game, makes perfect sense to me. So I'm again, on paper, I'm like, oh, okay. But then I look at it and I'm like, well, hang on. Who decided to do this? That would be my very first question. Is this a mandated game? Is this a game that they're making because they want to pay the bills? Because, so there's two types of mandated. There's a mandated from on high, and then there's a mandated from practicality. In other words, Microsoft could have told them, go make a survival game so we can make money. Or, Obsidian could have internally said, we need to make some money, so let's go make a survival game. Or, it's entirely possible that they were like, you know what, let's just make a survival game because we got this idea and we want to make a good game. So it could be a mandated game, a paycheck game, that's a great way to put that, Rascor, or a passion project. And it's probably one of those three. I sincerely doubt it's going to be anything other than one of those three. But since 2/3 of those are bad, it makes me kind of look at it and go, And of course, because of the nature of industries and studios, I have no idea which is which, or what is going to be what, so I have no idea where they're going. Now, a couple people in chat, including Rax just now, have pointed out that Outer Worlds was a financial success, and that's true. Remember, this game is coming out in like 3 months. This game's done, basically. They're on the final bug pass right now. So this game was well in development long before Outer Worlds came out and any financial figures came in. So, Outer Worlds, like it or not, has no influence on this game, one way or the other. Yeah, it's coming out in spring of 2020, Zeiss. So, like, April-ish. No, it's coming out a few months from now, like I said. That's the other thing, though. The fact that this game has already been worked on and is at the point where they're already at the bug polishing pass makes me think, Now, Bartman says, well, hang on, wouldn't this be involved before Microsoft's development? Yes and no. As always, the creation of things has to keep in mind the fact that there's a huge amount of overlap. Microsoft's decision to purchase Obsidian happened well before Microsoft purchased Obsidian, if you know what I mean. There's a fairly large gap of time there during which influences could have been put upon. In fact, this is something that has happened. We'll go ahead and continue with the plans to buy your company if you produce game such and such. That is a thing that's actually happened. So, It could still be a Microsoft mandated project, or it could be a paycheck project, or it could be a passion project. Like I said, I don't actually know. Hi, Savicom. This could have also been insurance. That's also very, very feasible, which would be the paycheck project thing, by the way. Because it's entirely feasible that they were looking at Outer Worlds as the risk. And I know that sounds strange saying that now, but think about this for a moment. Those kind of games are actually kind of niche. I know that sounds so strange given how much, people like us tend to enjoy games like that, but when it comes to the grander audience and the overall market from a purely financial perspective, games like Outer Worlds are a niche game. So the fact that it sold particularly well is actually awesome, but also admittedly somewhat unexpected. I remind you that Pillars of Eternity 2 sold terribly. I think it made its budget back, and that's basically it. So, I don't remember Adventures. I really don't. I remember being amused by it and then saying it was Epic exclusive. Yeah, Tyranny also sold very poorly, which is why Tyranny is never gonna get a sequel, by the way. So, anyways, we'll see. But I have to admit, it kind of pulls together the mind of the consumer. There's all sorts of variables which go into all this crap. There's so much that goes into deciding this stuff, but ultimately, we, the real-life individual people, the consumers, the customers, we only have so many things to rely on when it comes to judging a game before said game is out. And I don't know about you guys, but for me, probably the biggest thing that determines whether or not, I'm going to pick up a game is the development team. Not the publisher. Not even the development company, but the specific development team that's working on it. And hearing that Obsidian is pushing out a survival game just makes me go, we'll see. Now, influencers. I hate that term too. Thankfully, I don't consider myself an influencer. You know why? Because I have a tiny audience compared to actual influencers. So we'll see. We'll see. Lord knows that we have had examples of developers branching out and making excellent games. So, moving on. I don't actually have much else to say about that. I do want to talk about Sonic the Hedgehog, though. I should probably explain that a little bit. I say want to talk about Sonic the Hedgehog. That's a bit of a misnomer. It's my job. Oh, I forgot to talk about Anthem. You know what? Let's make that a separate talk. Hang on. Let's just go ahead and do this. I actually forgot to add this to the list. We'll do that next. We'll talk about Sonic first. Hey, Sonic! Hey! Okay. Now, I've actually already talked about all this, so forgive me for those of you who have already heard me talking about all this. Also, Mass Effect 5, but that's not a topic. So, the new trailer came out for Sonic the Hedgehog movie. By the way, I think I've mentioned this before. I am going to be seeing this film because people have already donated money for me to see this film and do a discussion stream on it. So that's already locked in. I am a man of my word and I am a professional, so I will do it pretty much regardless. So, yay. That was before the redesign, obviously. That was a while ago. Let's look at facts really quick here, shall we? Let's just discuss some facts. The original trailer was crap. It had inappropriate music choice by people who didn't know what they were doing. It didn't showcase anything of real substance other than introducing the characters and a few jokes into the trailer. And there was very little in the way of actual animation. Now, I know that sounds like a strange thing to comment on, but hear me out. The new trailer... See, Huthor and I violently disagree on this one, because this is a little bit too suspect for me. So the new trailer actually discusses story elements, contains a substantially larger amount of actual scenes from the film and dialogue, has better music choice, which I will not be showing you guys because I'd be copywronged into oblivion because the music industry is horrible. I think the music licensing label industry is literally the devil, like just conglomerated, you know? Anyways, yeah, it includes more Jim Carrey actually being Jim Carrey. But here's the really weird part, and this is the fact that I think most interesting. Sonic is substantially more animated. I still don't know what the Pied Piper strategy is, by the way, Hazardous. You said that the other day, and I didn't know how to react to that. Now, that's unusual. Speaking as someone who has done a lot of work analyzing and looking into how things are actually made, there's two broad possibilities here. This was done deliberately. This was done as a reaction. That's the most broad possibilities, right? Now, there's actually a lot of nuance and variation in the middle of that. I'm trying to think exactly of how to explain this, because this is just messed up. Not really, Chocolate Rob. It's a game. Ooh, that's my thoughts. Here's my codified theory. I've spent more time looking into this and working on this, and here is my codified theory. The initial intent was to throw together something that was... there's a term for it. There's an official term for a movie that's basically thrown away. It's something Hollywood does all the time, actually. They either release a movie with relatively little fanfare, or they deliberately chop off the movie, like by releasing bad trailers or spoiling trailers, or they release a movie and put it right alongside another movie that is going to be, you know, way better. Star Trek Nemesis, excuse me. Or whatever. They basically do things to hamstring a movie's possible financial success, right? Yeah, Nemesis is actually a great example of what I am talking about here. Now, everything about the Sonic movie prior to this week indicated to me that this was the case, that they were specifically trying to release a Sonic movie, and then they were deliberately expecting it to bomb. Okay? So, bomb! There we go. Then they released the new trailer with the new animation and the new effects. Now, this is what makes me weirded out, because it's not just the fact that he looks better. He does look better, but that's the I'm trying to think how to properly explain this. If you watch the original trailer, you will see the rigging is crap, right? Help me out, back me up here, Huthor. The rigging is crap. The amount of animation is mild, to the point of almost non-existent. The new Sonic trailer has substantial amounts of continuous and significant animation in almost every scene he's in. I actually just rewatched it just this morning in order to verify my opinion on the matter. Now, that could be the nature of which scenes were shown. In the interest of fairness, it is entirely possible that this is only because scenes where he was actually animated were shown in the new trailer. Whereas, you know, the old trailer was just eh. Yeah, the way that he's... when I'm saying animation, it's the way his face moves, the way every joint of the skeleton that makes up the model is moving is substantially more than it was in the previous trailer. Now, this could just be a byproduct of the remake. This could just be a byproduct of the fact that they went back and redid the whole thing. I don't know. I have nothing but speculation here, by the way, obviously. The fact that they have gone through and substantially reanimated him, in addition to re-rendered him, makes me go... Now, obviously, I would love to say that this is all deliberate, because, I'm going to go ahead and admit something very strange here, it's what I would have done. Really. Given the nature of video game movies, and given the nature of how Hollywood works, and I know that's going to sound strange, so please forgive me. I don't want to spend 15 minutes explaining how Hollywood is Hollywood. Can we just skip over that, please? Given the nature of Hollywood, Any film like this was going to be cut off at the knees for both political reasons and internecine elitism. Okay? That's fact. Now, it might have succeeded otherwise, but there was a lot of issues here. So, given that fact, if I was in charge, the first thing I would do was deliberately release an awful trailer, which had been specifically designed to be awful. Then, when there is a significant fan backlash to it, like there should be, then I would go ahead and say, oh yeah, we'll go ahead and fix it. And the other trailer, I'd wait a bit on it. But basically, the fan trailer the first trailer would have been made separate. And the second trailer would be the one we would have made to begin with, basically. Now, the problem here is this theory presumes forethought and competence on behalf of the people involved. So it's probably not actually true. Just to be completely blunt about that. However, that being said, I do have a theory which kind of lines up in the direction here. Here's what I think. I think there are people who are pulling in multiple directions when it comes to this movie. Now, I don't know who's whom. I don't know which particular group or individual or corporation or corporate entity, really, is pulling in which direction. However, I do think that at least someone or someone's involved, hang on guys, in the making of this film, knew how much this film was screwed and basically leapt on the opportunity to try and do the retool. Now, if that was the director, producers, and creative staff, the people, basically the runner, the mainliner of the actual film itself, then it would make sense if they basically went through and, let's just say, already laid the... I'm trying to think how to phrase this. I don't know how to phrase this. It's easier to do work later if you prep for the fact that you will do that work later now. If you have more groundwork, if you have more infrastructure, if you have more foundation. I think, this is my new theory, I think that at least someone involved in the making of this film kind of saw where this was going, and just in case, laid some groundwork in terms of the design, rendering, animation, rigging, and general skeletal structure of both Sonic himself and the movie proper, in the off chance that this would happen. And then the backlash was the backlash, and they seized on it, like, right? You notice people responded to that very quickly. Like, it was like the next week, wasn't it? We're going to go back and we're going to redo all the animation. No, that's someone who was prepared to jump, in my opinion. That's someone who was like, all right, yes, I've got my chance. And then bring in people from the community, bring in other people, and hey, and oh, by the way, we have all this stuff already ready to go. To streamline the process, right? We've got templates. Now, this is all still the realm of theory. Oh no, this implies forethought was done by an individual, Baron, not by a company. That's the difference. The former theory requires an entire corporate mentality to have forethought. The theory I'm now positing is an individual or individual group to have forethought, which is way more likely because it happens. That happens all the time. Now, you're probably thinking, why are you reaching on this, Lore? Because what we have been described to makes no sense to me whatsoever. Okay, we made this movie. It's junk. Oh, you don't like it? Okay, we'll remake it, and it's much better. Bullcrap! I don't buy that for 1 millisecond. There's no way. Because, I'm sorry, it doesn't work that way. Nobody involved in the money industry actually cares enough to give enough of a crap to do that, unless there was some kind of effort put into prefacing it. There is no way in hell that they just decided to, okay, bring in some new people from the actual Sega community and bring in more actual Sega involvement and redo the animation, rigging, and general rendering of an entire character who's going to be on screen for about 90% of the entire film. No way in hell. Also, Jim Carrey's in the film. While we're on the subject. I'm going off of what other people have said, Rex. I haven't looked into that personally. Like, admittedly, I haven't even really heard about that until today, so whatever. I still don't believe it, not for a millisecond. I really don't. You cannot convince me that this kind of a thing... It would be like telling me that... God, I'm trying to even come up with a parallel, and I'm failing because this is so unlikely of a scenario. It would be like if Guardians of the Galaxy 1 trailer came out and everyone hated Groot. That still doesn't work. Hang on. I'm really struggling to come up with a parallel because this is such a unique circumstance, which is part of the problem. I'm sorry, what was the comment, Epic Da Vinci? That is true, Blue Wolf Alex, and I will go ahead and admit that while the first trailer I could guarantee with high certainty was made by trailer people, I don't have the same certainty with the second trailer. Could still be a trailer team, I don't know. Not every trailer is made by trailer people, MCU. But why would filmmakers make a rubbish film on purpose? Oh, Jesus Christ, I don't even know where to start with that. Go watch the producers. There you go. Hang on, I'll pull up a Wikipedia entry on the producers right now. Give me a second. Producers. Give me a second. No. The 1967 one. There we go. Blah, 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 blah. So, in the middle of doing accounting work on the creation of a new theatrical film, they discover the discrepancy in the accounts. Now, Max persuades his Leo to hide the fraud and shuffle the numbers, and this is when Leo realizes that a producer can make a lot more money with a flop than a hit by selling overseas and... by overselling shares in the production because no one will audit the book of a play presumed to have lost money. There you go. There's the producers right there. Bam. That's one of like 50 ways you can make money by deliberately failing. Another way is taxes. Please don't make me extrapolate on that. It's pretty complicated. Taxes. There's also the fact that, so this is going to sound like a weird example. What movie, Tesla Effect? Oh, Sonic? I don't know. Yeah, Uwe Boll. Almost all of Uwe Boll's films were basically designed to fail as tax havens, effectively. Sometimes an individual will deliberately try to chop off a specific product or release or whatever in order to tank the value of a company, in order to buy more shares of the company, in order to have a greater controlling interest in it, in order to then push up the value of the company, in order to then sell the shares and make a ton of money. I mean, I could keep going. There's plenty of ways to deliberately fail and make money. Welcome to life, by the way. It sucks. Anyways. Nah, it's not immoral. Another thing that tends to happen, here's another one while we're still on. You could buy a company that's successful, rip out all of the things that make it successful in order to deliberately tank the company, and then sell off all of the materials and all of the personnel to other things, basically dissecting the company for everything that it actually has of any worth, and then bankrupt the company or close the company. That's happened plenty. Like I said, I could keep going. There's plenty of ways to, nuke a film or nuke a product or service or company or whatever in order to make money. Do I think the new Sonic movie pre-change was on other producers? Yes and no. See, that's a little bit different. Let's go ahead and add something on top of this here. So I mentioned that Hollywood films, in many cases, are basically designed to fail. But they're not designed to fail to make money. They're designed to fail because Hollywood. And I know that sounds strange, but Hollywood is very strange. Trust me. Hollywood tends to make films in order to make films. Now, I've had a theory for a while, and I cannot prove this, that Hollywood understands how untenable the filmmaking industry really is, which cycles through billions of dollars on a quarterly basis. Just an absolutely gargantuan amount of money flows through filmmaking, through Hollywood, on an absolutely regular basis, keeping an absolutely gargantuan number of people involved. This is a huge influence on the economy as in an aggregate sense. And I've had a theory for a while that that some people realize just how untenable that is, and basically try to continue to cycle things through to keep the industry going, to make sure that money is still flowing through Hollywood on a regular basis. Like, if you ever look at how many, like, usually we only talk about major films. Think about how many films come out every week for a moment. Think about how many films come out on a regular basis that you never really hear about. Even the more minor films cost in the millions range usually to make. And that's just millions of dollars cycled through something. Just keeping the bubble inflated. Yeah, it's exactly who they're just keeping the bubble inflated. Now, that's only a theory of mine, but it's a theory I've had for several years. And it is kind of, And of course, the really big films are the things that really actually sustain the industry proper, which is probably why the MCU and Disney in general have such a dominant interest over Hollywood, to the point where they can actually dictate terms to both studios and to actual theaters, because a fairly large chunk of the Hollywood bubble is being shoved up by Disney and by the MCU. Like, think about how much money those films make for a second. Hello, Dark Prince Revan. That's true. That actually did. I actually forgot about that, but that's a valid point. Deadpool, like, a lot of the reason we got the Deadpool we got was because someone, Ryan Reynolds, let's just call him out, was like, hey, and threw his weight behind that in such a hard way, and deliberately showcased how awful it was looking, and got the approval to do reshoots. And there was I encourage you to look up the behind the scenes for Deadpool sometime, Deadpool 1, because it is a miracle that film got made, and it took a lot of stuff, a lot of shenanigans, a lot of in order to try and make Deadpool happen. My God. Because that's Hollywood. Because that's Hollywood. Anyways, sorry. So let's get back to the Sonic thing. Okay, real quick. So, like I said, deliberate or reactionary, or, if my theory is true, just a little bit of both. My actual theory, not the, they totally did this in advance thing, which would have been nice, but no. What do you want to bet the film's still going to suck? I mean, we've had good video game films. We've had 2 good video game films, I think. 2? Yeah. Pretty sure it's 2. Pretty sure. Help me out. Is there a third one? No, Shikor. I'm just seeing how many people are guessing the 2 I mentioned. So far, nobody. Warcraft movie, that's one of them. Oh, hang on, Zeiss named the other one. There you go. Detective Pikachu and Warcraft are the 2 I was listing, by the way. So, Advent Children doesn't quite count. Like, I'm with that, but... Yeah. Yes, Battleship is the greatest film ever made. So much so that I actually use it as an example of how much films have already peaked. Ready Player One isn't a video game movie. Anyways, we'll see. Wing Commander. I saw Wing Commander in the theaters. Because it had a preview for Phantom Menace, but I still saw it in the theater. No, Baron. Castlevania Netflix is not a movie. Last Starfighter is not a video game movie. Detective Pikachu does count as a video game movie because of Detective Pikachu, the game. That's the reason why that one qualifies. Like, for those of you not aware, it really is the games, it just translated into a movie format. There's like two things that are different. Oh. I will admit that is starting to get into a territory. But it still counts. Like, to use a weird example, the Pokemon movie probably wouldn't count. And I know that sounds strange, but that's because the Pokemon movie is based on the anime, not the games. Or the game, or a game. Whereas Warcraft is Warcraft 1 put into a film, right? Whereas Ready Player One is actually not a film about video games at all. What? It's not. It's about nostalgia. And about corporations trying to make money off of nostalgia. Anyways. We're going to have ads everywhere. I think that's all I've got this week. Let me look at my Loreweek notes. I talked about... Oh, no, we gotta talk about Anthem. Hang on, we gotta talk about Anthem. Here we go. How did I mention Pikachu? I'm sorry, Hazardous. I don't know what you're talking about at this point. Anthem is still relevant, kind of. I do have a topic here, I swear. Like an actual topic. Alright. You know what I know about the Tomb Raider film? Which I actually saw. You know what I remember most about the Tomb Raider film? The guy who who was in charge of the editing for the Tomb Raider film is the director for Star Trek Nemesis. So Anthem. Okay, I don't even remember saying that, Hazardous. So let me say what I actually was saying, which was Detective Pikachu is a video game movie because it's based on Detective Pikachu. The game. I don't know if you know this, Hazardous. There's a video game called Detective Pikachu. It's on the 3DS. And that game's story is the film's story. It's, like I said, very few changes. By the way, spoilers. If you see the film, you're spoiling the game, FYI. Anyway, so, getting back to Anthem. Let me change playlists. Hang on. We must go to the Doom playlist. Infinite Doom. Infinite Doom. There is no hope. So, this is funny. Anthem is reportedly taking an underhaul. Now, I got to share something really quick here. For those of you not aware, I actually have a bunch of links. They'll be in the VOD when this goes up on YouTube. I will not be linking a link. I'll not be sharing a link to this because, near as I can tell, the only source for it is a Jason Schreier article on Kotaku. And I don't recommend anybody goes to Kotaku because Geo Media is horrible. No, seriously, Geo Media is horrible. I've actually recommended to friends that they stop going to Kotaku ever since that bundle of sites was purchased by Geo Media. However, and Rax is getting here, Jason Schreier himself, the individual, actually has a reputed and, we have evidence that he has good contacts in the industry. Let's put it that way. And B, he tends to be an actual journalist. So that's why I'm going ahead and mentioning this. So Jason Schreier has information that Anthem is, in fact, getting an overhaul. Just looking at my notes here. They're going to be calling it Anthem Next, or possibly Anthem 2.0. There's in flux. There's no clear timeline. They're apparently figuring out how they're going to do the updates. It could be overhauled over a series of updates, patch by patch. It could just make a major change to shift it into a new thing. Blah, blah, blah. They have not, so as of this morning, which I just double checked, there has been no official commentary on this by EA or by BioWare. And also, they're supposedly working on a Mass Effect game. Yeah, right. There are also people reportedly working both from here's the other bit of news. BioWare Edmonton and BioWare Austin are supposedly both working on Anthem Next. Now, okay, the reason I want this to be an actual topic is because, first of all, let's go ahead and start with the obvious. You're gonna redo Anthem. Okay. That's what I like to call the emotional reaction. That's the knee-jerk reaction. Really? However, I do have to... then my brain takes over a little bit, and I do have to mention that there's this thing called Final Fantasy XIV. Here's the thing. Final Fantasy XIV 1.0 was garbage. It was the worst MMO I have ever played, and I don't say that in hyperbolic nature. I say that with careful, considered, measured, time-honed opinion. I have gone back and reminded myself of how awful FF14 1.0 is, just to make sure that I'm not being facetious in my own opinion. FF14 now is a great MMO. Worse than Anthem? Yeah. I would legitimately say that FF14 1.0 was worse than Anthem. And I've reviewed Anthem. By the way, for those of you not aware, Anthem is my least reviewed, like my worst reviewed game I have ever played for a review to date. Now, so that's on the one side. Actually, it's on the second side. The one side is, yeah, right. On the second side is, well... But on the third side, FF14 had a lot of very talented, very dedicated people who rolled up their sleeves and tried to make something of this. And that's why we got FF14 ARR. Vanilla FF14 as it is now referred to. So, yeah, that is actually something that is worthy of note. BioWare has been losing people. You remember a few weeks ago I mentioned that BioWare actually lost 2 additional people who were working there, who had been working on Anthem. Just pointing that one out. Yeah. But I can also mention a couple other games that have had an overhaul, like BioWare did, or like FF14 did, excuse me. No Man's Sky, which was a pretty crap game to start with, and is a decently competent game overall. Because we did that replay, if you remember. There's also Destiny, as Hazardous points out. Destiny 1 was... Well, let's actually save that, because I want to turn that into a different topic, okay? So let's just save that for my next thing. But Destiny to Destiny 2 was a pretty big jump in quality, in my opinion. And yes, I've played both. And this is going to sound like a weird one, but Star Trek Online. Some of you who know anything about me know that I praise the hell out of STO. And I say that STO is a game that's awesome. And I recommend to basically everything. STO used to be terrible. Not at the level of FF14 1.0, but in the same category. I played STO when it came out. I don't know many people who played STO when it came out. Trust me, it was bad. You think the ground combat is bad now? You have no idea. Oh, God, I still remember that Borg mission. Oh, yeah. I do remember that effing butt, actually. I do remember that. Yeah, so my point being, if we actually sit and think about it, we can come up with plenty of games that started off and got good. Forgive me for the meme. So, from an intellectual perspective, okay, maybe they can turn Anthem into something good. Now, this is why I wanted to bring up Destiny, and thank you, Hazardous, for reminding me of this. The problem is, in order for a game to be made good, it needs to have something interesting at its core. Now, I have a weird way of thinking of this, so please forgive me for using my own stupid terminology. But what I think of as a game's core is the fundamental construct behind which everything else sits, okay? Super Mario Bros. Involves jumping and going left and right. I know that sounds like a duh, but my point being, if that core wasn't interesting, it doesn't matter how good your level design is, because the core needs to be present. Otherwise, you have to redo the core, and you're basically making a new game at that point, right? Destiny, the original Destiny, had relatively decent core, which then was able to be turned into something in Destiny 2. Final Fantasy XIV 1.0 did have a decent core. It was WoW. I mean, I hate to say that, but it was WoW. It was the developer-generated content, MMO, run-around, story-based thing, right? That's FF14 1.0's core. It is still the core of FF14 now. What was the other one? The flying in space. God, I can't think of the name of the game already. There's a game that I can't think of the name of that involves going through space, and it was really boring. They turned it around. I just mentioned the name of it, and I can't even... No Man's Sky. Thank you, No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky's core was actually an interesting core. It was basically a survival game at its absolute core. You go, you procure, you build, you leave, you explore. Okay. What is Anthem's core? Now, I'm kind of cheating here by my own terminology, and I'll admit that. Because if you wanted to break it down to its most core element, okay, sure. Which is the Iron Man simulator, the flying around. Woo, okay, sure. Flying shooter. Okay, that could work. Maybe. Probably, possibly. I'm sure there's another flying shooter game that works somewhere. Help me out. But I'm going to add one additional sentence, one additional bullet point to the core of Anthem. And that would be... Oh, God, Descent. I haven't played that in forever. And that would be the nature of its structure. Because the structure of Anthem is entirely focused around procedurally generated... I'm trying to think how to explain this. WoW vanilla. There we go. That's a good way to put that. Don't you start. Don't even start. The core of Anthem, other than the flying and the shooting, is extremely generic mission design. I remember all the missions, because I beat Anthem, remember? We beat Anthem on camera. And all of the missions were X of Ys. It's one of the negatives I gave, was the fact that there was no mission variety. Because the core element of the game does not actually allow you to do anything other than to kill or to interact with, to get 10 bear asses, to loot. Kill and loot. Now, to explain a little bit here, you could take that core, in the interest of total honesty, that you could take that core and make something good out of it. You could. And I'm going to be honest about that. But I really believe that their fundamental core, which is those 3 points, flying, shooting, and X of Y mission design, is not going to be enough to make a good game out of it unless you have very serious time and talent built into it, right? I could see an Anthem game that is good. I could. Do any of you really believe we're going to get one? No bias, no malice intended in this question. This is just disappointment at this point. Yeah, please don't remind me. Yes, it is. And I do have to mention one other problem. I mentioned, again, assuming all of this information from Mr. Schreier is accurate, which I have no reason to doubt, one of the things he mentioned was that they are debating exactly how to do this overhaul. And one of the things they are considering is a series of updates. Now that's important, because a series of updates generally means smaller scale, little polishing detail changes, which is not going to fix a fundamentally difficult to work with core or broken sub-level foundation. Right? Like, there's a difference between a game that needs a few patches to be good. I can mention several games like that. And a game that needs to have a massive overhaul to be good. Let me use another example. FF14 1.0 did actually receive several patches before it came out, but FF14 also had a drastic under-the-hood series of stuff that they were working on considerably in order to get... Yeah, FF14 needed both, let's just be blunt about it. FF14 needed to patch things in and then do a chaconk in order to make that work. Like, to use a direct and specific example, you can't just patch out a zone that is terribly designed, because that's an overhaul level of change, right? But you could patch in something that allows you to interact with quest items better, or patch in, like, actually, they did in fact patch in the fact that you could right-click the quest turn-in thing, and it'll automatically select the quest item. That's a patch change right there. Changing Ul'dah is not a patch change, right? Thank you, Zaz, very much for the bits. Much obliged, sir. So we'll see. And that is really my final thought here, is we will see. I don't actually know what to make of this. What's really strange, though, and my final topic, is, let's assume for a moment that you are now in charge of EA. Hang on, let's try that again. Wait, one more try. I can't snap well. I give up. Whatever. Bad snaps all around. There we go. Oh, hang on, I just destroyed half the universe. Let's say you're in charge of EA, and half of EA just got dusted. You're in power. And you are a money person, which, for those of you who don't know my terminology, means you're one of the people who actually makes decisions with regards to companies. And as you're making this decision, you have to make a choice. You can tell them to start work on a brand new game and just dump Anthem. Or you can try to turn Anthem into something good. Which would you choose? Now, anyone paying attention knows that I've asked this type of question several times. I like to call this the house question. Do you burn down the house and build a new one because it's infested with termites? Or do you refurbish the house and get rid of the termites? That is really what the core question is all about. And I like this question because not only is it very case by case, but also neither answer is correct. It's just a matter of opinion and preference. Reading everyone's responses here. Never would have made Anthem in the first place. I mean, yeah, but we're past that point. That's why the previous guy was fired, and that's why you're in charge of the decision now. Hey, Larian. I don't actually know how much Anthem cost off the top of my head. Now, I've noticed several people... See you around, Max Time. I've noticed several people have mentioned that Anthem has too much negative bias. Let me point out something. I know this sounds like a weird thing to point out, but there is little that generates more positive press than something that had massive negative press turning it around. Like, I'm not sure there is anything that generates more positive buzz in marketing, if other than that. Like Sonic, funnily enough. Now, again, I'm not saying that's the correct choice, but I'm just pointing out negative press in and of itself should not be a determiner here. Because if you did manage to make Anthem into a good or even great game, the positive press that would generate would basically feed off of the negative press, to put it into such terminology. it would be, oh, it's horrible, oh my god, but it's amazing now! And people would sing your praises for turning that around. And shout down the negativity. I know this because I've seen this happen many times. With a lot of the games I just mentioned, actually. Either way, I'm not sure which I would pick, too. Now, there's a weird thought. Fallout 76, same question. By the way, this is going to sound weird, but Fallout 76 has a very unusual core. Because what Fallout 76 actually has is 3 separate cores that have been kind of stapled together. There's Fallout 4, and it's just straight up Fallout 4. There's an open world survival game, right, and the same core functionality of that. And then there's the nature of... I'm trying to think how to phrase this. I don't know how to phrase this. There's a third core there. And I don't feel like talking about Fallout 76 anymore. Because screw them! Yeah, multiplayer. We'll just call it that. Sure, that works. The building game part would be the Fallout 4 and the survival part, Crazy Norse. There's a little bit of both in there. I did say Fallout 4 specifically, right? Because I meant to. I think you could, point being, I think you could take Fallout 76's cores and make something good out of it. It wouldn't be hard, really. First, shut everything down. Go ahead and keep the servers, the private stuff, the world there for the future. For, like, just call it adventure mode. Diablo 3 style. By the way, speaking of games that turned it around. Anyone here play Diablo 3 at launch? Because I did. And so go ahead and keep the servers or whatever. But then actually craft a narrative and quests and missions and NPCs and basically a Fallout game. In the same map, probably. And then once you're done with that, make it... now this is going to be the actual hard part. Funnily enough. After you've made a full single-player game, here's the hard part. Make it fully co-op properly designed so it has a full proper co-op campaign. Then release that. Boom. Hey, I got a good snap. You now have Fallout 76 fixed. Congratulations. Honestly, I tend to agree, Crazy Norse. Now, we need to add even more microtransactions. Wait. I'm done. I've got nothing else here. Double checking my notes. I talked about SCP, Shovel Knight, PlayStation 5, Kappa, Mega Man Z, Morrowind, Stadia, Path of Exile, Microsoft, Sonic, and Anthem. Yep, that's everything. Okay. Wait, I've got it. Make it so that every time you fire your gun, it charges the player, like, 2 cents. Like, you have to sign up and register a valid credit card to play the game at all. And so every time you go, pew, pew, it just ding, it just kind of buys up. And every, what is it, $20, $50? Oh, hang on. But wait, there's more. Every time you move, hang on, I can keep going. Let's not. Let's chop this.